Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. A little update from the Ukraine front. First, the Ukrainians successfully blew up another Russian oil pipeline from Ryazan going to Moscow. So, is this a military target? Well, if you say so, then that means the Russians have been hitting a lot of military targets that the other side was claiming it was just critical infrastructure and civilian targets. We're going to discuss this. Second one, there's an explosion on a Russian oil tanker in the Far East. Who conducted that attack, or it was just an accident? Well, the Russians call the attack on the pipeline a terrorist act, not only on their pipeline but also on Druzhba pipeline that delivers oil from Russia to Hungary and Slovakia. Well, I think that was a terrorist act, and I will explain why. Then the Russian troops advance in Donetsk and Zaporoshya. This is according to the Ukrainians, and I'm going to show you the towns the Russians are conquering, liberating, taking control, however you want to call it. There's three of them. There's two in Donetsk and one in Zaporizhzhya, all with maps. And then I will give you an update coming from the Russians of the Ukraine front. So they will go mainly in Luhansk and Donetsk. Maybe Donetsk actually is just coming from Liman, going down to Zaporizhzhya Oblast. So let's start with the first topic. Ukrainska Pravda. Powerful explosion on Ryazan-Moscow main oil pipeline. Sources. The Ryazan-Moscow main oil pipeline in Ryazan Oblast suffered a powerful explosion on August 26, disrupting the transport of petroleum products to Moscow. Moscow is a city that has civilians. So call it however you want to call it. Where is that located? Not here, but I will show you. This is the map of Ukraine, and we go here towards Moscow, which is right there. And Ryazan is right here. So the pipeline, probably coming from the Caspian Sea, I'm assuming, from there, was blown up somewhere between these two. Now, Moscow is not, you can't claim this was a military target, but nevertheless, you can say, well, you know what? We try to destroy Putin's means to wage war. That means the Russians can do the same thing too, let's say, blowing up a water bottling factory or plant. Why? Because bottled water is used to support the Ukrainian army against the Russians. Therefore, is it legitimate, do you think? Well, the Americans told us it is. You know when? In 1999. When they bombarded Yugoslavia, they bombed this kind of factories and the dam and some bridges, and they said, well, that's used by civilians, but also those could be used by the military. All right? Bottled water is used by the military. Therefore, right? Well, nevertheless, successful attack. But then don't wonder and don't cry when these guys are going to hit yours. Here, New Voice of Ukraine. Ryazan-Moscow pipeline explodes. Fuel flow to capital halted. Got it? So this is a terrorist act. By my books, you can call it however you want. And if you don't call it a terrorist act, what are you going to call it? Minimizing Putin's ability to wage war? Then use the same logic to the other side. All right, so this is civilians. And the Russians obviously call it, as I think it should be called, right here. Ukrainian strikes on key oil pipeline are terrorism, end quote, Moscow. But Zakharova, is talking about strikes on Druzhba pipeline multiple times. Why? Because one of the definitions, or the clear definitions of terrorism, is creating panic or trying to change a opinion or a policy of a country or an individual by creating terror through military activities, like blowing up with this kind of ugly shit. So if you consider blowing up the pipeline delivering oil from Russia to, let's say, Hungary and Slovakia, that means these guys have to change their stance or what? On Ukraine's accession to the European Union. So these guys, the guys in Ukraine, the guys in charge of Ukraine, want to join the European Union to be a new member state. That's what European Union is actually. And the Hungarians say, no, you don't want to come here. That's a plantation here. We want to break out, but hey, don't come here. So actually the Hungarians are trying to help the Ukrainians. But the guys in charge of Ukraine want to get Ukraine into this plantation. So the Ukrainians want to change the Hungarians' stance on voting by destroying their oil delivery from Russia, which is essential for the Hungarian people. That is terrorism. If it's not, well, imagine you go to vote somewhere in your, community. So you are in an association, in a neighborhood, and they discuss about a pristine, detention pond. And you say, I don't want that pristine, I don't want to pay for the pristine detention pond, this amount of money for 3 guys to benefit over there and to kill the fish or whatever. And the neighbor over there who has a house by the pristine to be detention pond, he's going to, burn one of your bushes or smack your child. And he's going to tell you, well, that would make you change your vote regarding the pristine lake or detention pond. What would you say? So you try by trying to hurt me, change my voting? Yes, exactly. And I tell you, say it publicly, as Zelensky did. So what would you do? I tell you what I would do, and I think you already know what I would do. So that is terrorism. So let's go to the Far East. Ukrainska Pravda. This is from Wednesday, the 27th of August, 2025. Explosion hits Russian oil tanker near Russia's Chukotka. An explosion has struck a Russian tanker belonging to the so-called Shadow Fleet near the coast of Chukotka in Russia's Far East. So, have you heard about American tankers or anything like that being blown up or explosions? No. So that's why it makes you think, who is doing this? All right, the 2 crew members have been injured in the incident, said Ukraine Center for Countering Disinformation. Yeah, blah, blah. This is like the Ministry of Peace. That's what it is, countering disinformation. So why is Ukraine interested in something that occurs actually right here? You see this? This is Alaska. This is where it occurred, in Far East. This is Kamchatka Peninsula. This is Japan right here. So this is the Bering Strait, Bering Sea. So this is where it occurred, somewhere along this area. So why would be someone from here, Ukraine, be concerned about something that happened over there with a tanker? It's because, again, Russia's war machine was being affected. Propagandists emphasize that there was no oil spill, attempting to downplay the significance of the accident. They call it accidents. However, this incident confirms a worrying trend and once again demonstrates that the technical conditions of the Russian tanker fleet is critically low. That means, hey, why don't we impose some sanctions? Hey, they already did. But the Russians said, we don't care. Next one. Now that one right here. This is from New Voice of Ukraine. And I want to show you this title here. This is from the Ukrainians themselves. Troop movements. Russian troops advance in Donetsk and Zaporoshya Oblast. So where is that? I'm going to show you where Zaporizhzhya and Donetsk. So this is the map of Ukraine. Donetsk is right here and Zaporizhzhya right here. So the Russians are advancing somewhere along this line. And I'm going to show you exactly where they are advancing because the Russians are telling us right there. Russian troops advance near Zarichne and Kotlyne in Donetsk Oblast and near Olhivske in Zaporizhzhya, according to the DeepState. So let's go with Zarichne. Okay, but Kotlyne, I'm sorry, Kotlyne is right here by Pokrovsk. This is Pokrovsk. This is this little town of Bethlehem, and that is located. We go to Pokrovsk, which is Artemovsk right here. I'm sorry, Artemovsk is Bakhmut. Krasnoarmeysk, Jesus Christ, very close. Krasnoarmeysk, Artemovsk, stuck in time. So in this area right here, if I go to DeepState, this is Zarichne. This is the next one. They show us where that is located. This is by Liman and Sloviansk here. That is located, because remember, if you don't, where is located? Right here. Now that one. Zarichne, Kotlyne. So Zarichne is located from here. We're gonna go up here by Liman. In this area by here. And this area is located. And the Ukrainians show us from the deep state exactly where that is located. Zarichne right there. So the Russians are advancing here and here. Now I'm using this is Liman. I'm using Sloviansk, Krematorsk. Using this deep state, it's an Ukrainian map. Right, so they show this as well. Next one. And then we have the other one in Zaporizhzhya, right, which is Olhivske in Zaporizhzhya. Olhivske is right here. It is almost at the intersection of Zaporizhzhya Oblast right here with Donetsk Oblast and Dnipropetrovsk Oblast right there. And I'm going to show you where this is located on this map, which is easier to see. So remember, from Liman, they said the Donetsk, then here, Donetsk here, and then we go to Zaporizhzhya, which is right here. This is where these guys are advancing in this area. You see this little square here, the little square, you see it right there. Pak, and this is Olhivske in south. And if you want to go to, and you don't, I take you there, to the locations according to the, how do you call these guys? Deep state, which is right here by Olhivske, right here. The Russians are advancing exactly here. So on a big scheme of things, using the Ukrainian map is right here in the center and right there. Or the Russian map, which I think it's clearer, that's why I use it. It's right here in Zaporizhzhya, right here in Pokrovsk, and right here in Liman. All this. All right, next one. Let's see how the Russians see the advancement and the changes. Russia today, this is how a front line fails. Russia's summer offensive is breaking the war wide open. Then the Russians claim we are advancing everywhere, and we're gonna use from north to south. Abandonment trenches, collapsing bastions, encirclements, and empty strong points. The warning signs of collapse are no longer subtle. That means we are going to make you crack for all. And they say Liman and Seversk fronts. So this is, I'm going to go to the, they already show it to you, by Toretsk, Liman, Torskoye. I'm sorry, no, Toretsk is south of that. Torskoye, right here is what I already showed you, the Ukrainians claiming, and on the big map is right here. So this is the map of, they start here, they don't mention anything in Kharkov, nothing in Sumy, they don't mention anything because that's not an offensive. Whether the offensive is right here, the front falls from here. This is Luhansk, this is Donetsk, this is Zaporizhzhya, nothing in Kherson right here. So they're going to talk about from here to here. This is where the front collapses according to the Russians. And they say Liman and Seversk front slowly but steadily. All right, so they go slowly and steadily over there. Go to Chasov Yar and Konstantinovka axis when quantity becomes quality. As the map makes clear, the encirclement of Konstantinovka from three sides is now largely complete. So where is that? I will say Konstantinovka, Chasov Yar, going to the other map. Right here, it's exactly here, my friends. So Chasov Yar, baby doll. Right here, Chasov Yar right here. Konstantinovka is in here. So they're claiming we are going to encircle you. Clearly done. This is right here is Pokrovsk. So from here we're going to probably jump right here, which is worse than that. And they go here, Pokrovsk front, a demo version of disaster. So it's suggested it could become the scene of the divisive action, and so it did. So these guys are going to encircle Pokrovsk. They are advancing. This little thing here is this little thing right there. They are cutting it through. Let's go to the Ukrainians and see how the Ukrainians show it. Right here, Pokrovsk. Right here, Pokrovsk, and the Russians are advancing in here. And let's go and see further down, south Donetsk axis, a broad push along the border. And that is, I will show you the whole, remember the little square I showed you? All right, that is from here, this square. So the Russians are calling this advance, and they're advancing right here. From Pokrovsk, all this into Donetsk. They already entered Donetsk in a few areas right there, right here, right there, and right there. So they are going to go towards Donetsk clearly. So the points are in here by Liman, then they go here by Konstantinovka, then you go to Pokrovsk right here, then you go along this line. So everything from here to here in Donetsk is bad for the Ukrainians. And that's it with this, my friends. A little conclusion: the Russians are advancing. There's not a stalemate over there. It is in Kharkiv or in Kherson, but not in Zaporizhzhya, and definitely not in Donetsk. They also tried to gain some land in Sumy Oblast. Why? So they can exchange it and say, hey, we're going to give you this back, but you let us keep everything we got. Very shallow, but they will do it. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.